Show. Now here's your host, Wende.
Woo! Is that me? Wow. Welcome back to the Wende Neen Show. I am your host, Wende Neen. Yay! We have a great show lined up for you today. Now, I am going to take my seat. I'm not going to do my usual turn up. Reason being is because this is a very, very special episode of the Wende Neen Show, and it is a very serious topic. So the show is actually entitled, I Can't Breathe. And I'm pretty sure everyone can kind of relate to me saying that, I can't breathe, and what I'm actually referring to. Today we have a guest who's going to be on the studio who is going to discuss with me at length, based off of experience, the Trayvon Martin case, the Ferguson case, and the I Can't Breathe. So I am going to introduce him at this time and go ahead and get started because I want to dedicate this whole episode to that discussion. Now, to make sure that I don't miss anything, I'm going to refer to my notes, and that would be the CEO of RamStinger Security Incorporated. He's the inventor of the RamStinger entry tool. It's currently being used with the federal government, state, and local agencies. He is a former detective with over 34 years of law enforcement experience. He's a father of 5, and of course he enjoys fishing and hunting. And I want you to help me welcome to the Wende Neen Show, former Detective Anderson. He has his own theme music.
Well, hello, Miss Neen. Hello, hello.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Have a
Thank you for having me. Yes.
Have a seat.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here. Glad to be here. I hope you don't mind a little old school here.
I hear it. Whatever works for you works for me. All right. As I mentioned, this is a very serious show. And you certainly understand that, I think, more so than anyone. You have over 34 years of experience with law enforcement. Obviously, you're CEO of a security company, so I trust your experience that you can offer to us today. What I want to do is to kind of put a lot of our minds, especially myself, at ease with a lot of things that are going on right now. And I think there probably is everyone in America is probably at some point talking about this. And I first want to start out by asking you, when you hear Trayvon Martin, when you hear Ferguson, and when you hear I Can't Breathe.
Mr. Gardner.
Yes.
New York City.
What comes to your mind?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for having me here and giving me a chance to just voice what everybody else knows is their own opinion, my own opinion.
Exactly.
On these subjects. But when I first look at that and those cases came about, I was always confronted with the issue of why wasn't it someone there possibly could have been on those scenes that could have, you know, maybe respected those victims or had some respect for those victims. Now understand my reasoning for saying that is because being African American in the continental United States and in law enforcement, I've come to realize that you have to have some type of compassion for the people who you are out there, you've been giving this responsibility for, to police. And if that is lacking in any form or fashion, then you can have incidents that get out of control very quickly, and they can end up resulting in death, unfortunately. Now, each one of these situations, of course, they're a little different. Of course, the Trayvon Martin was between what I would consider two civilians.
Mm-hmm.
Issues
Because
which,
one, the Zimmerman guy, if you want to call him that, was not an officer of the law.
no, he wasn't, in no form or fashion, to be honest with you. But he was a self-appointed community security officer, in essence. And I'd like to. I was told years ago. I was a young kid growing up in the projects by, believe it or not, a Black Panther who used to do that type of job which Zimmerman called himself doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that was being somewhat of a police officer of the community. That's what I remember Black Panthers doing in my community when I was growing up.
Okay.
And he once pulled me to the side, and he told me, this one particular Panther, he said, you're going to have police in your community. There's no doubt about it. Somebody's got to be policing your community to help their policing your community.
Right.
The key is you should be your police in your community, not someone else, not someone coming in from outside. He told me that you're going to need law enforcement or police officers in your community, no matter what community you come from or in the future go to. You're going to have someone there. You got to have someone there that someone either can call for help or there to help testify or give witness to what may have happened or happened.
Right.
So with that information, when I was such a young kid, I had never, after that, been afraid to be in this type position.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of groomed me for it, so when the opportunity came about, I wasn't afraid to join it or get in it. I'd already gotten a clearance from who I held in high respect back then anyway, a
Right.
Panther.
Right.
So with some of those scenes, that missing or lacking, it obviously got out of control.
Okay. So let's touch a little bit on the Trayvon Martin situation. From my understanding, and obviously neither one of us were there.
Right.
So we're only going on what we've seen in the media, what we've read, and obviously what we've heard. My understanding is we're looking at an 18, 19-year-old kid, possibly weighing about, 150 pounds or so. Zimmerman at the time was pretty heavy dude. So just from your training, and obviously, I mean, he hasn't, I don't know, have had that type of training, but just from your training, when you're in a situation where what appears to me is that he kind of sought this dude out, Trayvon, following him and wanting to pursue a situation, a confrontation.
Correct.
And when it happened, Trayvon seemed to have gotten the best of it by getting on top. And obviously the allegations of his head being pounded against the cement and things of that nature, based on what we could see with his photos of his head, it didn't appear to me, and this is my opinion, that someone's head could be pounded against cement and only have that little type of bruise on the head. So my question to you would be, in your training, if you have someone on you and you are able to get to your weapon, is it your intent to make a deadly shot, or is the intent to subdue the individual or to remove yourself out of harm's way? How do you go about doing that so that everyone can walk away?
To answer your question from a law enforcement point of view, whenever as an officer, when I was trained as an officer, I pulled my weapon, it was with intent, usually with the intent to stop an aggressive person, save my life or someone else's life.
Okay.
And with that said, if I had to discharge my weapon, it was definitely to kill. We're not trained to shoot and wound, or fire warning shots. Those have been banned from departments, I know, for years. So if an officer pulls his weapon, fires his weapon, it should have always been with intent to kill. if you're firing at someone and you're in a fight and you're that close, obviously in your mind you must feel that this is the only resort you have to. I mean, I've seen officers pull weapons and place them up against people's rib cage and tell them what they better do and all that, when they clearly aren't in that frame of mind, if you understand, where they feel they're about to lose their lives or something.
Right.
And when officers do that, if there's nobody there, like I said earlier, that can say, hey man, put it up, chill with it, stop. It could get, you know, it could go to that extra step, and whereas someone is killed.
Okay.
And obviously in this particular incident, there was no one there that could, you know, intervene for Trayvon. And unfortunately, we are only hearing one side of that story. So,
exactly. And then I think the key thing here too is Zimmerman was not law enforcement.
no, he wasn't.
Simple as that.
And Trayvon was not armed.
Exactly.
As in all of these incidents, which, giving separately, there are separate, you know, separate scenarios.
Right.
Each one has a separate scenario. So.
Right, and I totally agree. The issue here is that it appears to be a pattern, and I'm pretty sure you understand what I mean by that when we look at the victims here.
Yes.